Joining me now, New York Congresswoman and member of the House Ways and Means Committee, Nicole Malliotakis. Congresswoman, good morning. Will you be holding that vote?
Well, I don't know if it's going to happen this week. It looks more likely it could be next week. But the bottom line is we're going to get the job done. Our committee has been working really hard. Chairman Jason Smith has been a great leader. He has brought us all together. We have built consensus, and I think we have a great package that not only will preserve President Trump's 2017 tax cuts, which were across-the-board cuts on not just corporations, but personal income, doubling the standard deduction, doubling the child tax credit, and some other provisions that are incredibly important that created millions of jobs and lifted millions of Americans out of poverty, bringing the lowest unemployment for Hispanics and African Americans. We're going to preserve those, and we're going to build on that, and we're going to provide tax relief for our middle class, for our senior citizens, and for hardworking Americans across the country.
Well, lawmakers, holding an important meeting on state and local tax deduction last week. They're still trying to figure out a final proposal to extend the $10,000 cap. New York Congresswoman Elise Stefanik was on with Maria yesterday on Sunday Morning Futures, and she was talking about negotiations. Watch her comments here.
I know that a lot of people in New York and California care about the SALT deduction. A lot of people in the Senate and in the House do not. Okay, they don't want to subsidize these high tax states.
But the reality is, Maria, this was a commitment President Trump made on the campaign trail. This is a commitment many of our House Republicans made. So we are in the midst of negotiating that. And the reality is, with this slim majority, we understand it's important to relieve taxes for all Americans across this country. If you look at New York, no state moved more to the Republican direction than New York State in terms of President Trump's historic support that he earned from voters in New York.
Congresswoman, again, this is something that President Trump mentioned on the campaign trail. Where are we with SALT?
Yeah, the state and local tax deduction SALT is incredibly important to states like ours. Yes, it's because our mayors and our governors, these Democrats, are crushing homeowners. They're crushing taxpayers in our state. But the bottom line is we have to fight on the federal level to try to provide that type of relief. We want to provide relief. That's what President Trump is about. He lowered personal income taxes across the board for families. Governor Kathy Hochul can do the same. They refuse to, but we're going to work on the federal level to provide tax relief for Americans, middle-class Americans who are struggling right now, particularly those in New York, because of high taxes. And as the only SALT member, caucus member in the Ways and Means Committee, I've been fighting each and every day for that type of relief. And I think we're going to get there. We're going to get a number that does help the middle class and provides the relief that they need so they can stay in their homes. They can continue to thrive in communities like mine.
What is that number? But Congressman, what is that number? Is it 20,000? I've heard 30,000 on maybe married couples, or 20,000 on single filers. I mean, where are we with that right now?
Well, because we're in the middle of the negotiations, I can't specifically tell you, but I will say 20,000 is certainly too low. At minimum, tripling and quadrupling the deduction would at least provide for all the middle-class families we represent in districts like mine. So we'll see how things go this week. We're actively negotiating this, but we're going to get there to provide the relief needed for middle-class America.
On the other side of this, though, the other side of the trade, to use a business term, is the concern about AMT bringing back the alternative minimum tax. Do you see that being a possibility? Because somehow you have to negotiate the revenue issue, which is what Maria was bringing up with Elise Stefanik.
Yeah, look, the alternative minimum tax cannot come back. This is one of the things that I've made clear in my committee and to leadership. In fact, if the AMT does come back with SALT, it actually negates the benefit that the middle-class families were receiving from the SALT deduction. The reason why AMT was eliminated to begin with is because it hurt middle-income families, and we cannot allow that to come back. And so we're going to fight for the SALT relief. We're going to fight against the alternative minimum tax, and we can do both. Look, this should not be on the shoulders of New Yorkers who pay for more federal taxes than any other state in the country. They need to have this type of relief, and the budget cannot be balanced on their backs. We're going to make sure that we strike a balance here that is palatable to get the votes needed, the 218 that is needed to deliver the New York votes, to deliver the California Republican votes, and also is palatable to my colleagues who understand the predicament predicament that we're in that we're trying to help our constituents. It's a Republican principle to allow people to keep more money in their pockets, and that is exactly what SALT relief is about.
Agreed. And that is why we have seen the story of New York state politics change so much, really, since COVID. Congresswoman Stefanik told Maria she is strongly considering running for New York governor next year. Congressman Mike Lawler also told me he's considering taking on Kathy Hochul. So, Congresswoman, I want to get your thoughts on all of this, because what Mr. Lawler made it sound to me like was that basically by June there's going to be conversations that has to happen within the party in the state of New York to figure out basically who was the stronger candidate to go against Kathy Hochul, who I agree with you has destroyed New York. What are your thoughts on this?
That's right. The best way for us to lower taxes and make New York more livable and deal with the crime issue on our subways is to actually elect a new governor. I would be happy with either Congresswoman Elise Stefanik or Congressman Mike Lawler. Both are good friends, they're good advocates, and they will bring the principles and fight for what we need here in New York to clean up the mess that the Democrats have created under one-party rule. And so let's see what happens. I just hope one of them runs, because at the end of the day, we need a candidate. You cannot defeat Kathy Hochul without a candidate. So please, one of you please run, and we will back you 100%.
Cheers to that. Liz Speak's got a question for you. Go ahead.
Congresswoman, let's go back to spending cuts. Why is it that the Senate is so far away from the House in terms of cutting spending?
I think that the House has just been working on this exercise for much longer. We have put in months and months of work to identify different areas when we can find savings. There is roughly $50 billion a year in Medicaid fraud alone and abuse. I mean, if you look at the system, it is riddled. Do a Google search and see Medicaid fraud and the number of arrests that have taken place, not just across the country, but particularly here in New York State. Our own governor has said it is riddled with abuse. And so we can address this issue without cutting benefits. I think the other thing is that the House leads here when it comes to issues of the purse. We're the ones who have to do the real legwork, and I hope the Senate just goes along and certainly will take their input. But we need to get this job done. I think we can strike a good balance here where we can eliminate a lot of the waste and spending from the Biden administration, protect Medicaid beneficiaries, put in place some parameters to reduce unnecessary overhead in our agencies, and let's get the job done and provide that savings, by the way, to the taxpayer. That's what this is about, saving money and giving it back to the taxpayer.
And Congresswoman, we have to run, but I will say the editorial board of the Journal this morning writes the GOP's Medicaid moment of truth, and they talk about ways, look, Medicaid's going to have to be dealt with, even though it sounds politically treacherous for anybody to talk about Medicaid cuts. And they say, especially the issue of winding down free federal money for able-bodied men that are on Medicaid. Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis, always a pleasure. Thank you for being here.